Hi, my name is Patricia Izurieta, and I chose to do my observation on a mild to moderate special education classroom at Horizonte High School. The classroom size was very small. There were approximately 8 to 10 students, which is pretty normal for a special education classroom. It offers more one-on-one time with the teacher, and it also lets the teacher spend more time on topics and help the students better understand the things that they are supposed to be learning. This classroom that I did my observation at was more than 50% ELL students, and they were all of Spanish descent. So it made it a little bit more difficult when you're in a special education classroom and you have more than half the students trying to learn English, but it is doable. The dynamic of the classroom was very open, very free. Like, it wasn't a strict classroom like you write on the board and you take notes and that's how you learn. The teacher liked to let the students branch out on their own a lot and let them try to work on their problems and try to figure things out on their own. And once the students were struggling, they would come and ask her for help, and she would help them understand how they're supposed to be doing it. The teacher also liked to do a lot of the teaching based on trial and error. So she would let the students do their work, and the students would have mistakes, so then they would come up to her and ask her, and she would fix the mistakes. And she felt like the students, it would stick better in their brains if they were able to see the mistakes that they had made and how it was supposed to be corrected, kind of showing by example as well. The administration at the school was they're pretty laid back. It's a Title I school, but it is also a school for adults, so there are lots of different types of people there struggling, trying to learn English, and so I feel like they were more worried about the students learning instead of, oh, you're doing this wrong. I don't think they were really strict on the teaching methods or things like that. I think they were more concerned about the students and their progressing and them getting better. While I was doing my observations, I noticed that a lot of the students were struggling with a lot of different kinds of errors with the English language. Some of the errors that I noticed were some phonological errors. There was this little girl, and she was trying to say the word this, but it kept coming out as these, and so she used the EE instead, so it looked kind of like this instead of this should have been like this, and then she ended up saying these like this. And then another word that that I noticed that some other students were saying was they kept saying that they wanted to go to the beach, but they didn't use the word beach. They ended up saying the different vowel, making it sound like bitch. And this is how it was supposed to be. This is how it should have been written, like this in the alphabet, and this is how it was said. The teacher didn't really bother to correct these errors because I feel like she figured there was going to be some more errors that were going to be that were more necessary to correct. And when you correct students for little things like this, they start getting discouraged and start thinking that they're doing everything wrong. So I feel like she didn't think that this was something that was really necessary to go into depths and go into real details about and correct them, because we all understood what they were saying. It's just said a little bit differently. Some other errors that I noticed some of the students were saying were some of the syntax errors. There was this, they were reading sentences. The teacher had asked them to write sentences and then read them out about what they were going to do. And this little girl, she wrote, "I ride my bike to park." She didn't add the determiner, which is something that you add before a noun. But it was something that also wasn't that big of a deal, and so you normally would write, I ride my bike to the park, making it kind of known like that. But the teacher also didn't really correct that one, just because she said, oh, you ride to the park, but she didn't really make a big deal about it, just because I said, there were other errors that were going to be more necessary to be corrected. Another one of the syntax errors that I noticed was this little girl, and she was writing, "To the house of my aunt, my mom drive." And if you speak Spanish, that is exactly how you say it. It's the exact translation of how it would be said in Spanish. But what it should have been written was, "My mom drove to my aunt's house." It kind of had a little bit of syntax, and it also had a little bit of morphological errors in it, just because it just, like, instead of drive, it should have been drove, you know, but that was one of the errors that the teacher did correct, just because that's not something that's really easily able to slide. Another one of the errors that I noticed were morphological errors. The students that had these errors were all of Spanish descent, and I noticed that one of the students that was speaking, he had said, "We go to the store," and that should have been, like, he was trying to say it past tense, which would originally make sense because you add an ed to make it past tense, but he didn't know that with some of the words you have to change the actual word to make it past tense. So what he should have said was, "We went to the store." And so that was one of the errors in the morphological category that I noticed. Another error that I had noticed was this little girl, and she was talking about her mom. And she had said, "My mom has 5 children." She didn't know that, like, children was already a plural word, so adding an S would just be natural. Like, it, you know, you would just think that you would have to add an S, and that's an error that not only Hispanic students or students who are ELL learners make, but that's an error that most students make actually in their lifetime. So that was that. The teacher, she used these 2 examples as like a lesson. So what she did was she went on, like, and she explained that normally you would add an ed to make something past tense, like goad, but there are some words that change. And so she sat there and she went on the board and listed some words and explained to the students that some of the words change when you try to make the sentences. And with the children's, she also explained that those were plural words, and that, like, you would normally add an S, and that would make sense to do it like that, but there are words that are the special. She also had the students rewrite the sentences, and I think that was very effective because she let the students learn from their mistakes instead of just going on the board and dictating, like, what they were supposed to do. And I feel like the students have learned a lot that way. My observations have been going really good. The students are such great students. It's a little bit more difficult trying to teach special education students, especially when they're trying to learn a whole brand new language. I mean, it's difficult for any student in general, and then add some learning disabilities, but the students have been doing really good. The teacher is an amazing teacher. She really knows how to get to them and teach them the way that she is supposed to. She has taught me a lot of things. One of the things that she has taught me is how to be a better listener to the students, be more patient. It's hard when you're trying to learn a brand new language as well as adding a mental disability on top of it. It's difficult, and you're trying to sit there and learn, and it makes it, you get really frustrated when it comes to things like that. She also taught me not to dwell on the little errors that the students make, because if you sit there and try to correct every little thing that they do, they'll start getting frustrated and start getting unmotivated, when in reality, like, those things don't really matter. There are more things that we need to focus on and that we need to teach them. I was actually an English language learner, and so I understand how difficult it is, and so I can put myself in their shoes, and it makes it a little bit better. She is a great teacher. She really knows how to connect with the students, and she really knows how to understand them and how to teach them in a way that they understand and that they learn. Just in the few, like, 5 hours that I have been over there, I have seen them learn a lot and seen them, like, learn from their mistakes, and those are things that she has taught them. They are really great students. The errors that these students are making are errors that not only just English language learners make, but people just on a regular basis make these errors. Little children, as they're trying to learn just the English language itself, I've seen them make the errors like adding an S in children's or adding the ED in goad. It makes sense that these students would add this stuff, but they're learning from them, and it's amazing that you can see them progress and see them actually start to learn the language. This is my video. Thank you for watching.